Hey everybody, how's it going out there? TG here, and welcome. So, I'm going to be introducing you to ProfitPilot.com. This is the website where you guys can find more about me and my subscriptions, anything else that you want to know about me over here. And then I did want to show you this last post that I had. I thought it was pretty good, so go take a look at it, talking about the IWM. A lot of the names that I like to trade are in the IWM, or at least they kind of respond to what the IWM is doing. And so what I've been looking at is I think that there's been a bit of a change positively for the IWM. And one way that I look at that, if you come over here, looking at this screenshot, is that we can see that the that price has bounced off of the daily 50. So this is looking pretty constructive over here. And then one other thing that I've been noting that we take out over here, this is the hourly time frame. And I had an old mentor back when I was doing all, just starting out with all this, and she would do what she called a parlor trick and would take away all of the color and leave just either one moving average, or she would black out the candles for price so that you wouldn't see that and you'd only see the moving averages. And it was a way to kind of declutter some the screens, because sometimes we put a lot of things on there, and really see what's actually going on with price or with these moving averages, because the moving averages help cut things down. Like, I mean, you look at this and you just see how crazy is price doing. It's just doing all over the place, and it's hard for us to figure out what's going on. But if we remove all that and we simplify it, we can see that maybe something has been changing. And with that, what I've been looking at is the hourly 200 SMA, and I took away all the other junk, and you can see that now we've got the hourly 200 SMA is actually in an uptrend, and we had price basically bounce off of that thing. So that is one of the things that I see that is starting to change with this index, and I think it should be telling us that we're starting to get into a bull territory. Now, if we go and we take a look at current stocks, I got a bunch. Let's see, let me get my screens up here. There we go. Okay, so if we go back over here to the IWM, and we look at this, we say, okay, well, what's currently going on? We're basically just kind of flagging. We had a pretty good run up right here when price got over the daily 50, but there was a gap, right? There was a bit of a gap between price and the moving average. And I talk about this all the time with any kind of stocks, any kind of tickers. When price gets too far away from the moving average, it's going to want to come back down to test it, especially when that moving average is not really in a very high angle of attack, especially when it's just starting. So the IWM has been going sideways for several weeks, several months, and if this is the beginning of a new trend to the upside, it's just beginning, and the moving averages are just starting to climb. They're just starting to angle up. Well, it takes time for this thing to really gain some speed and gain some traction. And it can be a little bit tough to see that maybe on the daily chart, which is why I've been starting to talk about and incorporate the hourly chart, especially with this hourly 200. And you can see over the last couple days, I called it again, and I think the previous newsletter and also to my subscribers, that I was expecting another little pullback, and well, we've been getting that. So over the last few days, we've been getting that pullback in the IWM, and lo and behold, look what it's doing. It's coming right back down to the hourly 200, which is angled up. It's also right here into the hourly 50, which is angled up. And we had a little bit of a drop this morning, but it seems to recover. And so I'm looking at this as just price kind of chopping around, going sideways, waiting until it kind of starts getting into this upward support of the daily moving averages, like the daily 50, that kind of stuff. So that one's working out well. Also, do keep in mind for the IWM, the Moxie indicator is still below zero. So, we can get price to start moving up, but it's got a little bit of work to do because the indicator isn't totally up there yet. And then as far as the S&P, we've been reaching new highs and all that. I know it was a little touch and go, a little nerve-wracking right in through here when the market pulled back. My timing wasn't that great. I started going in long on some positions just before that happened, but I still had the opinion, the belief that the market was still fine. We're going to go up. It was just a pullback into support. I was saying, hey, we need price to come back down into the daily 50, and that's exactly what happened. So that's been fine, and now we're up at new all-time highs, but we're getting stretched. So it's the kind of the same thing I was saying. Look, I think the IWM needs a pullback. Well, now I think the SPY and the NASDAQ need a pullback. It has been, if we kind of look here on the daily, You can kind of see through here, we are floating off of the daily 8 EMA, so a little extended, a little overbought. And then also we've got a big gap between price and the hourly 50. So at some point that's going to have to get fixed and repaired and have price come down and test that moving average. The NASDAQ, it's just it's been cranking, so this is all good news. This is good news. The market's doing fine. The only thing is that we now need to kind of get it to refresh. We need to have price come back down and test something. So you can see that here we are outside of the daily third ATR, which is a pretty extended place, and then it's been a while since we've touched the hourly 50 again. So it seems like that needs to start coming back down a bit. And then for the Dow, and yeah, if you guys have anything you want to be looking at, start posting them in the chat area, and we'll start taking a look at those. I got some names that I'd like to talk about as well. And so for the Dow, we can see that price has crossed over the hourly 50, but the hourly 50 was angled down, right? So that's just the first move of price being able to get past resistance. Now we need to wait and see, well, how is price going to test support? And it can do that here by either price kind of going sideways until it runs into that moving average and then bounces up and off, or it can do it by kind of dipping down into it and then back up. So it seems to me like right now it looks like it just wants to flag sideways before it goes up, which is great. That would be nice and bullish. But I'm also open to the idea if it really does need to move down and actually touch the hourly 50 at some point. I say this because the hourly 50 is still below the hourly 200, so it could have some work to do, and that can always mean like a little bit of a pullback in order to accomplish that. And if we look at the higher time frame, so for the Dow, right here, that big pullback that we had really just took it down to the weekly 21. So until we see some more degradation on the daily or the hourly time frames, I'm really looking at this as just another one of these pullbacks down to larger time frame support like the weekly 21. We've seen this in the past, in through these areas, and it's recovered. So I know a lot of this stuff is pretty high, pretty crazy and all that, but so far I don't see any problems. I think the market is generally trending sideways. Bigger picture, for the indexes that aren't doing much. And as far as the NASDAQ, I mean, same thing, like here to the 21 to the 21. The S&P is probably doing that. The Dow is probably doing that. And the IWM has been doing it for a long time. And it seems to me as though the IWM might just be starting to gain some traction to the upside. So if we kind of look around at a few names, Tesla is another one that a lot of people like to talk about. And this has been my whole stance on the higher time frames for a lot of these stocks. I mean, we're talking about NEO, Tesla, LAC. I mean, you take all the names that I was trading months ago that were really, really cranking, and then they all started to collapse basically mid-February. Well, what was the big picture? What were they doing? They were starting to pull back to more major time frame support. So think monthly, think weekly, and what they've been doing is, Tesla, look, right back down to the weekly 50. How about here on the monthly 10? And you can see that the bars, the candles, the candle bodies actually are staying above that moving average. So on a monthly time frame, this has really just been a pullback, a flag into support. And it's our job to get down into the weeds, get a little bit down here a little bit further and figure out, okay, where's a good entry or what's going to happen or what kind of trades and trends do we need to take? So far I'm looking at this stuff and saying it's okay. It's been fine. It's been maybe uncomfortable, but nothing has really actually been falling apart. They've just pulled back to larger time frame support. How about even Bitcoin? So I look at Bitcoin through GBTC. And again, let me know if you guys have any questions or comments in the comment box. I see that we've got a bunch of people logged in, but I'm not seeing any comments. So hopefully that something's not glitching, but just want to make sure that that's okay. Yeah, okay, cool. Thanks, guys. There we go. So for the monthly, look at GBTC Bitcoin. What's it doing? Basically come into the monthly 10. And how about this? The weekly 50. Same thing as Tesla, right? We keep talking about like, oh, how big moved down and is Bitcoin going to survive and all this kind of stuff. And, this is huge. Yeah, it's big, but what it's doing, it's really just coming down to support on the higher time frame charts. Let's see if it slash BTC, looking at the futures, let's see how close. Yeah, there you go. Even better. This is actually an even better picture because just like Tesla, you take the futures, Bitcoin futures, and look, the bodies of the candles are actually staying above the monthly 10 and price is coming in to the weekly 50. So there's a good chance that, if this is where price wants to hold on these higher time frame charts, then we're looking okay. We're looking okay for that kind of stuff. And if we go down a little bit lower, again, I really like to look at GBTC. It's cleaner for me and I can see it a little bit better. What we might be getting is a double bottom right here. I know it's not the greatest, but that could be a double bottom, which would be the same as the elf shoe that I like to talk about. Here are the legs, here the heel, here the arch of the foot, the ball of the foot, and we might be getting that elf toe. In through here, if price can start holding the hourly 50, then it can use the hourly 50 to start getting back up and over the hourly 200. And then what I'm also seeing here is price below the 50, the Moxie indicator above 0, that's a trampoline move. And for those of you who don't know, a trampoline move is a very strong bullish characteristic or bullish setup. It's a high buoyancy, high pressure because price should not be below the 50 if the Moxie indicator is above 0. It's trying to tell you that energy wants to go positive even though price is below that moving average. So it's a little bit of an insight that the indicator gives you about what's actually going on inside price. All right, so let's see what you guys are looking at. Yeah, CCIV, these are a bunch of the names that I like to be looking at. So CCIV is looking good. And what do we see on the higher time frame? We got price, we got the 8 crossing over the 21 on the weekly time frame. So that's now bullish because the fast moving average has switched over the slow moving average. And we had price pull back right into there and then start to move up. So, yep, CCIV is looking good. And we kind of see this and this on the daily and hourly charts. I kind of clean that up. And you can see price pulled back into probable support. It's hard to see that on the daily, but at least on the hourly, there's your double bottom. You can see that on the 15th. There's your positive divergence. Moxie indicator got nice and tight, and there's price over the 15-minute 50. Now, at this point, the question is, what is it going to do with its previous high, right? Because it's coming into a little bit of resistance right here, and you can see resistance right in through here. So, in some way or another, I imagine price is going to kind of flag a little bit and probably going to run into the hourly 50 and use the hourly 50 for support to get up and over this previous resistance area. So, if I'm right about maybe the NASDAQ and the SPY needing a pullback, then CCIV might be running into that same situation. It might want to go down or sideways into that moving average for support before it moves up. My concern is that it has kind of been gapping off of the hourly 50 for a little while. But overall, I think it's good. I think that, if we tune back a month from now, it's going to be higher. All right, SOL, same basic concept. And if you look at this on the monthly and the weekly, what's it doing? Same thing I've been talking about all these other things. Bouncing into the monthly 10 and doing a double bottom off of the weekly 50. So these are really great things. I know we only kind of check in once a week here on the live sessions to kind of look at this stuff. If you guys want more information and kind of the guiding and the bullishness that I've been seeing with this, make sure you guys sign up for the my subscription service with Moxie. I just do a ton of posts and really a bunch of videos and make sure everybody kind of understands what it is I'm seeing with the market. So SOL, there's that double bottom. We're seeing some positive divergence. And then same thing here is CCIV. We got price over the hourly 50, but now we're trying to pull back to the hourly 50. That's a lot of what I'm seeing. And the bigger picture is, look at the hourly 200. Just like the IWM, the hourly 200 is starting to turn up on a lot of these individual stocks. And so that makes sense that we're seeing the index do the same thing. So I am pretty bullish out there for the small caps. We just kind of have to wait for them to get into gear. All right, POAI. I have not heard of that one, Adamar. So this will be the first time I'm looking at this. Let's take a look at the higher time frames. Not too shabby. I am no stranger to trading names that are in this kind of position. I do see that it seems as though it's just starting to catch some support on these weekly and monthly charts. You do see that price is here over the monthly 10, so that's at least bullish. That's a start. And it looks to me like there's probably a double bottom right there. We should see more clarity if we get down to the daily and hourly chart. And then we can see that it is trying to turn the weekly 50 from a downtrend to trying to go flat to probably the next thing is starting to move up. But again, it's on a weekly time frame, so it's going to take a little bit. And if we look at the daily chart, there we go. That's what I was expecting. look at this. There's basically your double bottom. There's your positive divergence. And it is trying to change the daily 200 from a downtrend flat to then an uptrend. So this is in the process of turning and changing directions. And then it looks like it's at least got the daily 50 over the 200. So again, it's got the fast moving average over the slow moving average, which is the beginning of a trend change. And then in through here, it looks like it just bounced off of the hourly 50. So yeah, it looks all right. Volume looks huge. And it looks like its average volume is about 3 million, and it's got about 12 million so far. So yeah, if you like a name like this, then cool. I'll write this down. Gets a new name to me, and I'll start watching it. POAI. Always love you guys bringing some new names to my attention. So thank you. All right, and then let's see, AVGO. And let's look at the higher time frame. Looks to me, where's my mouse? There we go. So yeah, Avgo and a lot of these other tech names that I've been seeing, they've had really, really good moves, right? Like look at Amazon. They've had really good moves, and then they've been flagging for a very long time. How long has the IWM been flagging? If you look here on the monthly chart, part of the reason why it's been flagging is because it actually had such a good move that it hit the outer boundary. It hit the monthly third ATR, which is pretty far. And you can see it hit it. And then what it's been doing, it has been flagging sideways, basically into the monthly 10, and then flagging sideways on the weekly chart with the weekly 8 over the 21 the whole time. So this is still bullish. It's flagging, but it's still bullish because that 8 is over the 21. And then if we look down here at the lower time frames as well and trying to get a little bit more precision, look what's happening on the on the hourly. You know, I've been talking about this with the IWM. Well, it's happening with the individual tickers. Look at the hourly 200. It's starting to move up and price is bouncing off of it. And on the daily chart, just like the IWM, you can see price is starting to find some support and bounce off of the daily 50. And even here, we've got our positive divergence on the daily Moxie indicator. These things look good. It looks to me, wow, that they're trying to get going. It's going to take some time. You know, maybe it's been frustrating depending on what kind of trading you're doing or if you're doing options and they're expiring. But if you look, this has just been going sideways for quite some time, trying to get the daily 50 as support and then start to lift. So as long as you guys see the bigger picture and understand that it's going to take a little bit of time for some of these to get going, they look just fine. They're coming into these moving average support that I've been looking at and talking about, and I think they're doing okay. And it's just patience, really. Yeah. So Martinko, Amazon, as I just referenced that since you were asking about it. Yeah, it's been forever. When is this thing going to break out? Right? That's the question. Well, this is where you look at something like the monthly and weekly time frame, and just like Avgo, you know, price got really overbought. It had such good moves that they just got overbought and extended. And now look, it came into and bounced off the monthly 10. It's finding some support there. It's finding support at the weekly 50, and it does look to me like it is just about ready to break out. I mean, that's looking pretty good. And so I do think I am more bullish than bearish, and I think it's really just a matter of time. And if you look here on Amazon, we had a move up. It got overbought. It's also at this double top. It pulled back. It's trying to find some support. And I think really it's a matter of time until these things start moving up again. You know, it's probably going to coincide. I think the NASDAQ could use a bit of a pullback. I think the S&P could use a little bit of a pullback or some flagging. So I imagine Amazon's next leg up would kind of coincide with that. But big picture, I think these things are looking just fine. And it's just a matter of time until they start moving up. PLTR. Let's see, Karen, let's looking at this one. Also looking pretty good. Notice that on the weekly time frame, the 8 has crossed over the 21, and it's been riding the 21. And then if we go down here on the daily, now the only thing I might say, and the challenge here is because some of these names have needed to pull back, and some of them haven't. So like if we look at Neo and Space, they just kind of kept going once they got on a move. But then we look at other names and they've needed to pull back into support and then they took off. So it is challenging to say exactly which ones are going to do which of that. But I can give you the two directions. So PLTR, you can see it crossed over its daily 50 and it's been doing fine. You know, it's been moving the whole time. There is a possibility that even though it crossed the daily 50, it might still need to come back down to test the daily 50 at some point before going up. So, depending on where you got in, if it starts to head back down to the daily 50, you might want to get out just so you save your money. And if it gets to the daily 50, that's probably going to be a decent place to go pick up some new shares. For example, Snow, kind of in that same category. You see how Snow has been taking time. It got over the daily 50, then it needed to come back down to test the daily 50, and it kind of looks like it's needing to do it again. So Snow is just taking its time before it gets going. PLTR may need to do that, or it may not. It might do what Neo did, and well, Neo's having a great day, and just keep going. So that's the difficulty and the challenge about stock trading, is that we don't necessarily know which ones are going to do what. And you can see here, it actually just kept going. So I haven't been able to find a good entry for this one. I've been trying to find some other names like FUV. I'm trying to see, all right, come on. We're looking at this and trying to see if FUV is going to be one of those names that just keeps going. And it seems likely. There's been a lot of volume coming into this thing as it has been flagging right here and then starting to make new highs. And if this thing continues, we could be seeing probably 20 bucks pretty easily. So Neo's having a good day, like what, 2 days, today, yesterday. I don't really see why FUV wouldn't do that either. Everything looks pretty green and positive to me on this. So Peace, let's see. Is it wise to be long in oil? I don't see why not generally, because as the economy starts to reopen and we're just doing more. I mean, we still are an oil economy. We need to consume oil. I know UNG, yeah, look at natural gas. It's having a great time. In fact, the last good opportunity, it was right here as price pulled back into a trampoline move. And again, what is a trampoline move? It is when price is below the 50, but the Moxie indicator is above 0. That is a high pressure, high buoyancy, high positive type setup, because it's saying that, hey, the Moxie indicator is above 0, it's positive, it's got a lot of energy, and if price dips below the 50, it doesn't want to be there. It's like trying to put a beach ball below water, and once you let go, it shoots right back up, and there you go. Like I show these examples over and over and over and over. So yeah, UNG is looking good. Let's see, USO, I kind of watch it. I don't do too much with it. It's been doing fine. It's at an uptrend. Maybe it needs to slow down a little bit because it's up here at the third ATR, and it's been a little while since it's hit the daily 50 SMA, kind of like back here, price up at the third ATR and got too far away from the daily 50. So, that's a possibility. But otherwise, I don't look at too many oil stocks, but I do know like something like CPE has been doing fine. So that one's pretty good. I tried trading it back here. I guess that wasn't the right time. And then I went on my honeymoon, and so I was not in CPE when it was having a good move. But then we have RIG. And RIG has been, it's a little slow mover, but it's doing all right. You can see it's been doing okay. It's been following the hourly 200 up. It bounced off the daily 50. It's right here at basically all-time highs, or at least recent all-time highs. And so, yeah, maybe it can break out. RIG's looking okay. And then the APA is another one that kind of comes to mind. It's having a harder time, but maybe what it's doing is it's kind of just resting here at the daily 50 before moving up. As long as it can stay above an uptrending daily 50, it should be okay. And maybe even here, we're starting to see a double bottom with some positive divergence on the hourly time frame. So there's kind of a variety of positions and performances in the oil group. I don't really trade oil-related names. There's just so much news about them and too many influences that I just don't really like to trade them. So you mean short? Let's talk about SPY short. I would not short the SPY. So, Joko, I would not short the SPY. The only thing I would say is that I'm looking for a slight pullback on the SPY. I don't think that there is enough meat on the bone in order to short it, but really that's not my cup of tea anyway. So, if we get some sort of dip like that into the hourly 50 or into support, maybe even into the daily 21, then great. If you want to take that shot, go for it. But I think that is a challenging thing to do because I'm really only looking for a dip and then I want to see price go back up. And if you can find exactly when to catch that dip and write it down and do it for a day or two, then great. I don't really have a level. I just know that generally I'm looking at price to come back down closer to the hourly 50, and I'm looking at price probably coming down closer to the daily 21. So whatever price level that is, then fine. I don't really use targets like that. All right, and then some of the other names that we're looking at, and some of the bigger names. So Snapchat. What's it doing? Let's look at the higher time frame charts. Doesn't this thing look like it's doing well? What has it done? It had a really, really big move up, and what did it do? It pulled back down into the monthly 10. That looks okay. And then it's done a double bottom here, and it looks like it's starting to break out again. It's right up at previous highs. This is why I'm kind of just thinking, I'm not sure if these names are just going to explode from here. I think we need some sort of refresh. And I think that refresh that we're looking at is probably a little bit of a pullback on the S&P and a pullback on the NASDAQ, because we are right here at previous highs. And if we get a little bit of a pullback, then that would help us. And even here, just maybe a pullback back to kind of this higher level. It looks like 65. Maybe price will do this. And if this worked out, if price dipped below the hourly 50 and down to about the daily 21, that would be a trampoline move on the hourly time frame. And I just showed you what a trampoline move does and what it's like on the NASDAQ, or sorry, on the UNG, on natural gas. So take a look at that. And if we get that on Snapchat, then that might shoot Snapchat up higher into new highs. And this is why I am not bearish on the market. In fact, I think that there's a bit of a, sector rotation or something. I think that these names that, think about the Cathie Wood names, the ARK names. I think those things are starting to wake up again. So John, looking at QD, higher time frame, this thing looks fine. It looks actually kind of like that other name that I was talking about that somebody mentioned, POAI. Look, here is price bouncing off an uptrending monthly 10. Here is price with the 8 over the 21 and expanding, just like these other names that I've been mentioning on the weekly time frames, okay? That all looks good. The only thing that's happening right here on the weekly is that, price shot up and it's just pulling back into support right here. So on that time frame, it looks fine. And on the daily, the other thing I've been looking at, and then on the hourly, is I put my stop just below the 21, because usually when things are in an uptrend, they will pull back to about the 21, but that's about it. So I want to see price stay above the 21, and then here you can see that price is engaging with the uptrending hourly 200. So as long as price can stay above the hourly 200, I'm okay with that too. So nothing looks of concern here. The only thing it's doing is just going sideways until it can find whatever support it wants to find, and then it'll start moving up. That's my view and opinion about that for QD. Another one, Sumo. We'll just kind of talk about this for a minute. What are these names doing? They're taking time. We have to be patient for them. So hopefully if you guys are trading options, you're not getting too short-dated options to where you're just going to burn up your money because these things aren't moving right now. But look what Sumo is doing. It got over the daily 50. It tested the daily 50, and kind of like Snow, it might need to test the daily 50 again, or maybe it'll be happy here at the daily 21, and generally just kind of flag sideways while these moving averages start to move up and catch support. And you can see here, Sumo is also coming into the hourly 200, and here the hourly 200. So I do see these things as starting to go up, but it's taking time because they need to get closer to these moving averages before they can also start going up. Does that make sense? How we're seeing these things flag into support and then hopefully get going at some point? Home Depot, I have not looked at that one in quite some time, so let's see. Let me look at the higher time frame, because I always like to put these things in context. Well, what I can see originally is right here, price came into the monthly 10, and price came into the weekly 50 with the Moxie indicator above 0. So that was a good move. And then it looked like it had such a good move that, of course, it's going to pull back. It got too extended. Look at this. Outside of that third ATR, on the daily or on the weekly chart, just like back here, it got over the weekly third ATR and it pulled back. So for now, this is looking like it's pulling back from some pretty big moves. What does that look like here? Well, I think it needs a little bit more time. My concern is that this has been moving up, okay, but what is it doing here? It's moving up into the underside of a slightly downtrending daily 50. I'm not sure that this is ready just to keep going up from this point. So yeah, it bounced, but I don't know. I want to see something a little bit more robust. Part of my thing I'm looking at is price has not touched the hourly 50 for quite some time. So right now, this does not fulfill the requirements that I need in order to go long on something like this. And in fact, I would kind of be wondering, hey, when is price going to pull back? Because price does not like to stay over the hourly 50 without touching it for too long. And so I'd be looking for price to actually pull back at some point soonish. And if it does that, then I would see if it can find support, and then maybe I consider going in. I'm also seeing a little bit of negative divergence right here on the 15-minute time frame. So yeah, careful with that one. Home Depot, careful with that one. It's had a good bounce, but looking like it might get a little bit tiring right here. All right, so we're going to wrap up with that. Remember, guys, come over to profitpilot.com, profit-pilot.com. Check out this latest newsletter here, talking about the IWM and why I'm pretty bullish on this stuff. I'm seeing a lot of good things out there. It's just a matter of time until they start getting going. Maybe we're in the middle of the summer doldrums, as I kind of talked to my subscribers earlier today, but come check out this stuff and see what my reasoning is for being bullish in this market. Obviously, the NASDAQ and the SPY have been reaching new all-time highs, and I think the IWM should be soon behind it. All right, everyone, you take care, and come check me out, and we'll see you next week. Later.